Alright, today the goal is, in this video, is to try and get you a little more comfortable with everything that's going on in this class, especially with Core Academy Geography, because I don't want people being confused, and I think that if I can kind of show you what I showed my mentors in my individual mentor meetings, everything will start to work a little bit better. Alright, so first of all, if we go to Moodle, there's a couple different options you have. You have Core Academy Home. Alright, if we look at Core Academy Home, this is everything we do in class. Alright, this has a lot to do with the projects. It's got the rubrics. It's got links we've done in class. Alright, it's got the regions that you use on your project. It's everything we do in the class together. Alright, there's not going to be things you do in the online section in Core Academy Home, but I was just going to show you that first. Then you have the three right here: Earth Science Core Academy English Language Arts, and Core Academy Geography. These three things are what you should do during your online class period, whether you have it with Doug in the Media Center or with me, Prophet, and Taves in this class 6th hour. You are doing these three things. Okay, this isn't really project time. This isn't study hall for other classes. It's an online class period where you will work on these three classes. The last one is Career Academy, and that's where we're going to put links and stuff for the Friday mentor meetings. Alright, but otherwise, online class period, these three things. And I'm going to specifically today talk about my geography one, because it's really important, and it's important that you figure out what you're doing. Alright, when we started this whole thing, everyone was a little bit confused because you said that you wanted due dates. And we didn't really want to give due dates because we thought it was important that you could set your own schedule. But we still got a lot of pushback, and you guys wanted due dates. So what we started to do is we gave you guideline dates. Alright, so like for the first week of school, I said I want you to get done a certain amount of things. Alright, and I'm going to go to student view here so that you're looking at what you see when you log into Moodle. So right there I was in teacher view. Alright, so week 1, August 27th through 31st. That was the first week of school. And I put, during Core Academy online time this week, you will do some lessons that will help you with your project for the competency, inquiry, and investigation. You will read a few articles about the 5 themes of geography and then apply that reading to the 5 brief activities. After that, you will read another article about tools used by geographers around the world. Alright, and so you might be wondering, well, what's the point of this? Alright, why can't we do this in class? Because this is kind of stuff that I would have done last year as homework. And you guys shouldn't have any homework in this class, really. You should have this online time to work on extra things that you could work on in your project or work into your project. Alright? And I put the rubric for my project up here. And so you can see that first article you have to read is called 5 Themes of Geography. It's important because one of your criteria for the rubric is the 5 themes of geography. I am able to synthesize information from multiple sources using the 5 themes of geography. Or I can draw conclusions based on the 5 themes of geography when studying a geographic location. Alright? That's what you need to do for this project to either be competent or advanced. Alright? So if we look back at that first page when we work on our projects, alright, let me go back one more time to Core Academy Home, we look at our regions. It said that you need to apply the 5 themes of geography to each one of these regions. Alright? And so in order to do that, you need to know what the 5 themes of geography are. So I put that on my online section, because I could tell you in class, but then I'd have to get everyone's attention. I'd have to go super slow for some people, and I'd go too fast for others. This way I have it on here so you can do it at your own pace. Okay? So what you would have done is you would have clicked on that the very first week, and it would have come up with this article, the 5 themes of geography. And it would have gone over the theme location. It would have gone over place, region, human environment interaction, and the last one, movement. Those are our 5 themes of geography. And now I want you to read that, but I also want you to be able to apply it. So you can see I have an example for each one. The first one is the location example. So you click on that, and let's see what it asks you to do. It says, complete the activity below. So you click on that link and you complete an activity. In the text box, you need to explain to me how that URL or that game is an example of the theme location. What was the activity asking you to do? What is another activity that you could do to explain location that is different from the one you just did? So if you don't really remember what location is, you go back to that article, you go to the very first theme, which is location, right there, and it tells you all about it. So then you can go back to the assignment, click add submission, and you can answer these questions in that text box. Then you just go down, save changes, and I have it. So then I can look on my Moodle, see your answer, and see if you actually understand it, and see if you would be able to apply it. Okay? And so really that first week you would have worked through location, you would have checked it off, okay, because when you check it off it's going to unlock the next activity, alright, which is place. So if we look back at our article, the next theme should be place, alright, and it is. And so you would read that, you'd come here, you do the place activity, when you are done you would check it off, and it would open up the next example, okay. So really it's self-paced. You work at your own pace. If you're a fast worker, you can get it done faster. If it takes you a little bit longer, which is okay, you can go at your own pace. Alright, and that was week 1. Week 2 was September 4th through September 7th. I said during Core Academy this week you will do some lessons that will help you with your project for the competency, inquiry, and investigation. Last week we focused on the 5 themes of geography. This week we will be looking at the 5 different types of geography: human, population, political, urban, and economic. So just like 5 themes, there's actually 5 different types of geography. And the first one I wanted you to look at was human geography. So you would click on human geography, alright, it would give you a little link to view the file. Okay, you can see our file downloading. It's complete, opens it up, and it talks about that type of geography. So what I wanted you to do is read that article. When you are done reading that article, you're going to go back where there's activities based on the article. Okay, human geography terms, geography of religion, and geography of language. And then it goes to population. And then that took us into the 3rd week. So really that 2nd week I only asked you to read 2 articles and do 3 different activities. So it really wasn't that much. Week 3 was even less because it was homecoming week. I had you do 2 activities: U.S. population and world populations. Alright, so only 2 activities during 1 week. It should have been pretty easy to do, and that carries us into week 4, September 18th and through September 21st. Alright, so what I did is I wrote you a little letter, and I gave you your first article, political geography. And right here you can see it's not open because I want you to go in order. I have these set up strategically in order so they build off each other. So if yours is hidden, it's because you're not far enough yet and you need to get caught up. Alright, and if that doesn't help you enough, giving you the dates up here, alright, and giving you check marks to go by, I even gave you a first 3-week checklist. Alright, we're in our 4th week. I want to make sure you know where you're at in this course. So if you click on that, alright, it gives you all the items that you should have done during the first week. If you remember, I said that first thing you were to do is read the 5 themes of geography. So if you did that, you check it, and it tells you you're 7% of the way done. Then if you did all 5 examples, 2, 3, 4, 5, our bar tells us we're 40% of the way done. So if you are where you should be through the first 3 weeks, you should be 100% done with it, with the first 3 weeks. Alright? So we get so caught up in that we're confused, but really it's really laid out easy for you. And if you really need help with it, just come ask, because I love helping you guys with this stuff. You just need to come ask. And like I said, everything we do in this online part during your online class period time relates to the big project. Okay? And that's another thing that's confusing you, so I'm going to go over that right now, is the project. Alright? That's what we do in the block. So when you are with me, Taves, and Prophet, you work on the project. When you are with Doug or in our class for 6th hour, you are doing this online work. Alright? So with us, you are doing this rubric. This is how I will grade you. Prophet has his own rubric. Taves has her own rubric. Alright, but this is how I'll grade you. The first performance indicator, or the first criteria that I'm going to look at, I can create my own maps using geographic tools and technologies. I can use the maps to analyze, explain, and solve geographic problems in real-world contexts. So the first thing you need to think of when you read this is, what is a geographic problem? Well, we gave it to you. The geographic problem is you're going on a trip. You're taking a trip. And I can guarantee that most of you out there don't pull out maps for fun. You go home on a Friday night after the football game, pull out maps and look at it for fun. No, you're always wanting to solve a problem. Alright, and this problem is, where do you want to go to college? So you're going to use maps to solve geographic problems, alright? And can you create your own maps? And so one thing a lot of you are using is MapQuest, which is really good. It's a geographic tool, it's technology, and it allows you to make your own map. So for example, let's say I was going to go from University of Northern Iowa, where I went, to Louisiana State University, LSU, alright? I would type in Cedar Falls, Iowa. And I would type in Baton Rouge. And I would make a map. Alright? And it shows me a map. And one thing that you guys are having trouble with is you spend a lot of time making a map that goes to every spot. Well, you don't need to do that. You can make individual maps that help you get from point A to point B. Then make another map that helps you get from point B to point C. Because you get so worked up in trying to give me one map. Well, break it up. Make it easier for yourself. Alright? Geographic perspectives is number 2. I am able to create and use maps from different sources, perspectives, and points of view to analyze and critique geographic regions. Alright, so you might be wondering, what geographic regions are you talking about? These are the geographic regions in Core Academy Home. Alright, so if I go back to Core Academy Home, which is loading a little bit, I can scroll down, and it says right here, these are our 5 regions, geographic regions: the West, Southwest, Middle West, Southeast, and Northeast. And if you look back on our rubric, I am able to create and use maps from different sources, perspectives, and points of view to analyze and critique the geographic regions. So how can you use maps to tell me the similarities and differences between these regions? Well, there's a ton of ways you can go at it. You can look at climate maps, because the climate's different in each one of these regions. You can look at topography maps. You can tell me how in the West the elevation's higher than the Middle West. Alright, you can tell me precipitation. It rains more down in the Southeast than it does in the Middle West. Alright, think outside the box. Think of how these are different. So if you were driving to a college in each one of these regions, how would it be different? It's not going to be the same when you go from the west to the northeast. It's not going to be the same temperature when you go from the northeast down to the southeast. Alright? Use maps, make maps to show that, and show how you can be competent or advanced in map making. Because that's a tool in geography, and that's what I would have had to get you to do in class anyway, if I just had a regular geography class. The only problem is I want you to do it, and I want you to do it well, and so it works better with competencies. Alright? So if you're making your own map on MapQuest, you're being advanced, and you're telling me how it's used to solve problems. If you're making maps and using maps that have already been made to compare those different regions, you're being competent in the second one. Okay, keep working towards that. And the last one, I'm able to synthesize information from multiple sources using the 5 themes of geography. So can you take those 5 themes we talked about in the online part and apply them to each one of your college regions, which is right here? Alright, tell me about location, tell me about place, human environment interaction, region, movement. Tell me about those in each one of these. Alright, and so I feel like that should be easy enough for you. It's going to be work, but you can do it. Alright, and I'm going to kind of shift gears here, because you might be saying, well, I could talk about the 5 themes in each of these regions, but where do I put it? Alright, that's what the travel log is for. Alright, because we've been reading Steinbeck's Travels with Charlie, and he goes in each one of these regions, and he decides to write about his experience. Well, that's what you guys are going to do. You're going to write about what an experience would be like traveling around the world, or around the country. Okay? And so one way that I showed my travel, like I said, Cedar Falls to Baton Rouge, is through a blog. So you can see here, Mr. Frederick's travel log. I decided to take my thoughts and my words, and instead of put it in a story, I was going to put it in a blog form. So I'm just going to go through this brief example of what it looks like. 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. Alright, last night was my last night in Cedar Falls, Iowa. It was really awesome. I enjoyed my visit to UNI. I can see myself attending that college someday. Some of the highlights of my visit were seeing other towers where I would someday like to live. The towers are named Bender and Dancer, and there are 12 floors on each. Alright, so one thing I could have done is I could have given the absolute location of Cedar Falls, Iowa. Alright, if I would have given the absolute location, I would have been already addressing the location in the 5 themes of geography. Alright? I was also fortunate enough to attend a UNI Panther basketball game last night in the McLeod Center. The arena is really nice, and UNI is a great basketball team. One of the cultural characteristics of UNI is the interlude dance that freshmen are expected to learn before they come to a game. This was created by a group of students, and they do it during the games to get the team excited. Here's an example of what the interlude looks like during the game. So what I did is I like visuals, I like videos, I like stuff like that, so I embedded a video of the UNI interlude dance into my blog. Alright? Because in Steinbeck's book, he does a great job of describing things, but what would it be like to actually see them? And with our technology today, we can do that. We can show that. And so if you know this is one of the 5 themes of geography, place, what is it like? Well, I'm showing you this is what it's like. So if you can tell me that, then you're becoming competent in that area. Alright? And so if you want to watch this, I can show you it sometime in class. It's pretty cool. Alright? Also, I put here, although I had a lot of fun in Cedar Falls, I realized that today I need to head to Baton Rouge for my next college visit. LSU, go Tigers. This trip is going to be a long one. The total distance of my trip will be 997.19 miles. I expect this trip to take about 16 hours total after I make some pit stops to eat and use the restroom. My expense report will show the total expenses from the gas and the meals for this leg of the trip. Alright, so let's look. I have made a map. Okay, I had a geographic problem. I need to get from Cedar Falls, Iowa, all the way down to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Okay, that's a geographic problem. I couldn't just jump in a car and get there myself. Alright, I need to use tools and technologies to get there. So I was able to take this map, I was able to copy the embed code, put it in my blog, and I have it here. Alright, so if I look at my rubric, I can create my own maps, which I did, using geographic tools and technologies, which MapQuest is, alright, to analyze, explain, and solve geographic problems in real-world contexts. Alright, I went to college there. I was looking at a college here. That's real-world context, and I was able to show that using a map. Alright, let's keep looking at what I had. I had a lot of fun in Cedar Falls. Oh, I already read that part. I'll go down to 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. My trip is taking longer than scheduled. One of the reasons I'm driving slower is because of the snow that has picked up considerably. I didn't see any precipitation while I was in Cedar Falls. I'm not surprised about the increased precipitation in this region because according to the map, there's a substantial increase in precipitation the further south you go. Alright, so look, I embedded a map in here. Average annual precipitation. I started in Cedar Falls, Iowa, alright, where it looks like they get about 30 to 35 inches of precipitation per year. And I go down to Louisiana, alright. Down there we're getting into the dark green, which is 50 to 60, and even into 60 and 70 inches of precipitation a year. So I just said, alright, the rain picked up as I went there, because odds are it might, because look how much more rain they get. Okay, so if I zoom out, obviously according to the map, Baton Rouge gets a considerable amount of precipitation, but still not as much as Oregon and Washington. Okay, because if we zoom into the map, Oregon and Washington, they're pushing almost more than 180 inches of rain per year. Okay, one of the problems with the amount of heavy rain is that in Louisiana is a floodplain. In 2005, there was a massive hurricane that ravaged the South. New Orleans was hit the hardest by Hurricane Katrina, and there was massive flooding. There have been many different ideas on how to avoid this problem in the future. All right. So if I go back, everything I want to do, I want to look at my rubric. And let's look, we've already covered number 1. Okay, we've created maps using tools and technologies. We've done 3. We've been using the 5 themes of geography. And now this one, I'm able to create and use maps from different sources, perspectives, and points of view to analyze and critique geographic regions. Well, I did that. I critiqued these regions, didn't I? I found a map that compared our regions. Okay, so let's look. One of the regions we had to cover was the Midwest and the Southeast. And you can see I went from Cedar Falls, Iowa, down to Baton Rouge in Louisiana. So I'm critiquing 2 different regions based on an average annual precipitation map. So I did that. I was showing I am competent in the ability to compare geographic regions using maps. Okay? And so this is how you should go about this project. Okay, it's a lot better than doing a worksheet because you won't remember the worksheet. Okay, I made maps. I talked about the 5 themes of geography according to regions. I compared regions. All right, it's so much more enriching, and I think you're going to learn a lot more but it all comes together when you do the online part to get there. Because for example, if I go back, let's go to my courses or my home. I have Core Academy Geography. We'll get there in a second. But what I'm going to say is, if I didn't do the stuff under Core Academy Geography, if I didn't read about the 5 themes of geography and human geography, if I didn't do these examples, if I didn't look at Geographer's Tools, I wouldn't have been able to do this. All right, so let's look at that. Geographer's Tools. That's one of the articles you would have read the first week. All right, it talks about the science of map making. All right, and if I would have unlocked that, if I would have done that, read that article, come here and said, yes, I've read that, I click on it, it opens up the next one, which is the Geographer's Tools Handbook. I click on that, I open it up, let's see what it tells me. It shows me how to use GPS, and look, it talks about maps. It talks about scales. It talks about the different types of maps, how to read a map. So if you don't know what a precipitation map is, then you're not looking at your handbook. Like right here, it talks about thematic maps. Like you could use a flow line map, all right? Or you could use, let's look, a qualitative map. It's showing you how to use different maps to do this. Like this one shows the elevation in certain areas. I think a map that shows elevation would be perfect if you're going to talk about let's look, we go to Core Academy Home. If you're going to go from, let's say, the Midwest region over into the West, because it's going to get higher. The elevation's going to get higher once you get into the Rocky Mountain region. All right. So I used my travel log to show I'm competent and advanced in these areas. I embedded my maps. I talked about the 5 themes of geography. I analyzed and critiqued those regions. I made maps, okay? And so that is what we're doing. And if it doesn't make sense, come talk to me, please. I really, really think it's important that you understand what's going on, because this is such a cool thing we're doing here. And I can understand how it would be frustrating, and I can really understand how you wouldn't like it if you didn't know what was going on. So make sure you look at this. Make sure you watch this video again if you're confused. Click on the things I put on there. Check every day. Use your time wisely. All right? Use the checklist we're giving you. Okay, I know Taves has one on hers too. Use that stuff to help you do better in this class, because I know you guys can, and I know you will if you just work hard. So I'll make some more video tutorials if you need them. This one I know gets a little bit lengthy, but I really think it's important to show you what's going on.